Do you have any idea how powerful you are? You are the one doing it all. You are it all. You are the center of reality. And in everything that you see and experience, it's also the center. It's you. And so, yeah, I'm talking to myself. You have the power to create and destroy universes. The power to bring that which is dead to life. Is there anyone out there getting younger? Or are you still dying? You are literally doing it all. Not the way that you probably are thinking. You are the one experiencing every single perspective that ever has existed and ever will exist. So why is there suffering, need, want, lack, fear? You want to make a difference in the world? Well, you can. But most likely not in the way that you're thinking. Let me explain. I'm going to show you an example of how I created something in my reality. You can see how you are creating your reality and notice it. If you are unaware, you're still going to blame everything and everyone for your reality. If I can help you understand, then maybe you'll see it and realize how powerful you are and who you are. The whole point is to know and have joy in the image of yourself. This is based on how I understand it in this point in time. That's constantly evolving so long as I experience time. I did a series of videos talking about basically information, images in my head. I understood it. I had to try and put it into words. I used images, made videos on it. And in these videos, I introduced a theory I had about us being crystal that sings. Check out a few of these clips from those videos. It was completely black. I could see because I was the light. I was the diamond. What I saw was all kinds of gems. And anything that you notice in nature, in the environment around you, is fractal, meaning it's the same pattern repeated over and over again, the center being you. So like Indra's net of jewels, you represent one of those jewels. You are the DNA of the universe. So you reflect off all the other jewels, which are all the other people, all the other things you see. Everything in the universe is all a reflection of itself. I thought, what if the center of the universe is crystal? Then I thought about how everywhere is the center. Every person is the center. Again, like this, all reflecting off each other. So then within our bodies, we have these crystal centers in each cell. And it just goes on and on and on, the fractal type pattern. Thought was, is the crystal singing what's making the universe? And right now I'm showing you how, an example of my own, or creating your own reality so that you can notice it. Check out a couple more clips. I thought, what if the center of the universe is crystal? Thought was, is the crystal singing what's making the universe? Now I always came across this, is the universe ringing like a crystal glass? See where they've drawn this out, like the Big Bang, the singing of the crystal. There's also this entire scholarly article that I have not been able to read yet about that very theory. My next thought was, is the singing dying or going down? That why things are falling apart? According to this article, yes, the universe has a background noise ringing like a crystal, and it has been dying down. It's decaying and it's very small. And I thought, well, we are the crystal. That means that we are not singing. And the reason why I had that question, because of this scripture, the Bible, which says, and the earth was without form and void. Darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit moved upon the face of the waters. And so what I was imagining in my mind was the void was like water with no movement, no waves. When I thought of Spirit of God, I thought of waves moving on the water. You'll see where I'm going with this. Different religious scriptures, they talk about the glass sea, like crystal. This says, I saw before me what seemed to be a glass sea mixed with fire, and on it stood the people who had been victorious over the beast and his statue, and the number representing his name. And in this throne stood in heaven, and one seated on the throne. And he who sat there had the appearance of jasper and carnelian, and around the throne was a rainbow that had the appearance of an emerald. Before the throne there was, as it were, a sea of glass, like crystal. Even in the Mormon religion, it says they reside in the presence of God on a globe like a sea of glass and fire. All things for their glory are manifest, past, present, and future. And the earth in its sanctified and immortal state will be made like unto crystal. And this is what I saw in the original vision I had of like this pit. Is me going down and burning off layers. Earth going down and burning off layers. Coming the light and seeing crystals and gems. The earth was a crystal. I was a crystal. I was made up of crystal. I used Indra's net of jewels to show how this could be. Every crystal on the net reflects every other crystal. They're all the center of the universe. So anything done by one affects all the others. Now what happened was I get images in my head. And then I try to make meaning of the images, understand them. I'm curious. I ask, what does this image mean? Since I did those videos about the pit and the crystal and the gems, I've been thinking about this, and I came up with a whole story I was going to use pictures in to explain, put on TikTok, and I hadn't done the video yet. I sent the idea to a friend of mine. You can see this message was sent on April 1st, 2022. And I said, basically, I'm explaining using stories and stuff to help people understand something that can't really be put into words, to draw it out of them, but really it's being drawn out of me, the people who understand, because they are me. You are literally the center of everything. The reality that you see is a reflection of the assumptions you believe, which acts as a filter through which shadows are cast into your reality. You are literally trying to come through the filter, the veil. You are trying to shine light through to see who you are. Imagine yourself as a crystal seed, a seed that is planted in the dirt and mud. In a seed, there is the DNA of a perfect crystal. As it grows, it undergoes all kinds of traumas. The plant may grow deformed or even die, or by being exposed to cold weather. Does the seed, though, lose its DNA for being the perfect crystal? If we were to take the crystal and give it awareness, an eye to see, but the eye sees through the crystal, what happens when we shine light on a crystal that is covered in mud? What does that crystal see if it is looking from the inside out? The mud is your filter. We see the world through a mud filter, darkness. But the darkness is in fact on the crystal which your eye is seeing through. Light doesn't shine bright through it unless you wipe the mud from the eye, which you are seeing through. The prism is then magnificent. So I use different things a lot. I use scriptures from the Bible not to convert anyone to any religion. What I want to show is that the religious texts are a code, in a sense, for deeper understandings of things. Break down their dogmas to see something more. In the Bible, there is a scripture that says, life is the light of men. The light shines in the darkness. It also says, your eye is the lamp of their body. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is full of light. But when it is bad, your body is full of darkness. Therefore, be careful lest the light in you be darkness. Then your whole body is full of light, having no part of dark. It will wholly be bright as when a lamp with its rays gives you light. I said, so I've had a hard time knowing where to start. It's all like a web of information. So I would need to go into why I chose a crystal, go into sound, heat, black holes, all kinds of things. And then I was just telling him how I want to use Adobe Create and put them on TikTok and YouTube, some of my ideas for the pictures. So I've had this idea in the back of my mind, the forefront in some cases, video 4. So they claim that this 3D quasicrystal structure is what makes up all of 3D reality. And this structure is made up of tetrahedrons. And the length of the side of the tetrahedron is a Planck length, which is the smallest measure of unit that physicists know and use in particle physics. So 3D reality is like having a TV screen full of 3D pixels made up of tetrahedron. So then these tetrahedron fill up all of space. And if one is affected, then the rest of them are also affected. Different states these tetrahedron can be in. We also know from physics experiment, the state that the tetrahedron is in is determined by a witness, an observer. Now it's not simply the observation of it, because observation without any perspective would yield nothing. There has to be something to compare it to. So this is what we do, is we take in information, compare it to other information, and make conclusions. Those conclusions that we make is how the state of the tetrahedron is determined how we experience solidity, particles, reality. Let me show you one more clip, a video I did last summer. How do you see another dimension? It's in recognition that anything that you see that is other is you. So I got this two-dimensional piece of paper and I put holes in it just to demonstrate what I'm going to do. So in 2D, if you take a 3D object and you were going to move it through 2D, I'm going to say the 3D object is my hand, okay? And you put your fingers through the 2D object. It would look like they're separate entities, okay? But we know for the demonstration that it is actually one entity. Dimension becomes another dimension by recognizing that the other that it sees is also itself, and there's a connection that's formed. How we tend to understand reality is that we're one of those fingers separated from the other fingers, and what we have not yet realized is that we are the hand. We tend to think of ourselves as small with this great big universe extending out from us. But instead, think of the universe like this ball, crystal ball. We are on the outside looking into ourselves. If we want to understand ourselves, we put on a pair of glasses that gives us the perspective of one single person. And actually, yes, we can put on a different pair of glasses and see from the perspective of another, because it's all us. Understanding this part is important in understanding how you are creating reality. It's just like Spoon Boy from The Matrix when he said, "Try to bend the spoon, that's impossible. Only try to realize the truth, that there is no spoon. It is not the spoon that bends, it is only yourself." Now you can check on my TikTok, my other videos, see that I posted videos about the crystals, the pit, 2 or 3 months ago or something. Today is April 16th, 2022, and I sent this message on Messenger on April 1st. So in my mind I was wondering, well, why crystal? What's significant about crystals? I didn't really know how crystals worked. And this video showed up in my feed on YouTube. I watched it. And that answered my question that crystals are periodic patterns. They're patterns that repeat themselves over and over again. Somewhat similar to a fractal, or a fractal is the same pattern within a pattern within a pattern. That's significant. I'll get to that later on. Now in my mind I was curious what a crystal was, how it worked. I didn't say anything. Then I got an answer pretty immediately. You can see that this video was made 2 years ago. I didn't search what are crystals, how are they made. It just popped up. Now, this kind of stuff happens to me all the time. Anything I wonder about or I'm curious about, answers just pop up in my reality. This isn't anything independent to me, but I have an answer as to why that happens. How that is actually the key to creating reality, as we understand it anyway. But this video was not the kicker. See, I had this whole theory. I said I basically had a theory of everything. Just because I have this theory doesn't mean I know all the technical terms for what it is that I understand. I always do my best to explain. This video popped up in my feed, Divergence Theory, a layperson's guide. And I took this photo this morning. You can see it was posted 13 days ago. You can go ahead and Google it and search. It was posted after I sent those messages, after I did those videos. But I'm sure they were working on it before then. See, I wanted more understanding of what I already understood about the crystals. Reality. This theory states that from an 8D crystal, you can get a 4D quasicrystal, and from the 4D quasicrystal, you get a 3D quasicrystal. And a quasicrystal is the shadow of the original crystal. The 3D being a shadow of the 4D is a shadow of the 8D. In a different video I posted a while back, like 6 months ago, 9 months ago, I had explained how something that's 4D entered into a 3D world would look 3D. We'd see like a slice of the 4D. It's a picture of the video where I was explaining if a 4D object went into a 3D realm, the people who experience in 3D would only see a slice of the four-dimensional object. And I'll show you a clip to explain how a four-dimensional object look like separate objects in a third dimension. Einstein said that the distinction between the past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Physicists have repeatedly shown that all time exists all the time. I've done other videos on the fourth dimension explaining this, using like a three-dimensional object that has height, width, and length. Just like you can see the beginning and the end of the object's height, width, or length, if you were understanding and perceiving the fourth dimension, you would also see the object's full time, from the beginning to the end. Just like a movie has films, separate still films, you can see movement when you see them in action and you interpret them. This is similar to what all of reality would be like. In this video, they compare all of reality to one geometric shape. Within that shape, there are films, slides, like a moment in time, slides. Think of any possible situation, scenario that could exist. That slide, that information is within reality. It's just information. It's a potential possibility. The experience is what makes it real. The interpretation of seeing the slide. But who is the one interpreting it? You are. And your interpretation, perspective, determines both the past and the future. Because when one of those tetrahedrons lights up, is put in a certain state, it affects all the other tetrahedrons. But the film plays in a certain direction. The future and the past are determined at the same time. They are determined by your perspective right now. They say that all of reality is made up of information. And in other spiritual traditions, information like this is referred to as the Akashic records. Also the field of information. But everything that we see and experience in reality is not something outside of us. It's us interpreting a slide of information. Our interpretation determines the next slide. If reality is a geometric figure, it makes no sense as to why one end, past, versus the other end, the future, determined another. With this in mind, the future affects the past just as much as the past affects the future, all right now, determined by you. Now, I manifested this video, this documentary, the people that made it, the people that did the research, the whole theory. Now we're always manifesting everything around us, anything that you see and experience, you manifested it. And I'm aware of the process that took place within me to bring this into being, at least partially. It's a combination of assumption and curiosity. Curiosity is what opens you up to receive information. Allow that information to be perceived. Behind every question and curiosity, there are assumptions of what is real, what is true. Those assumptions are what you see in your reality now. When you assume something that you don't see, this is what a lot of people would call faith. When you're curious about the evidence, find it. I don't mean actively like you have to go do something. It will come to you. So I got the image of a crystal in my mind, and I saw myself as the crystal, and I was the light. I saw the world and the universe as crystal. Now these are things that I didn't know by seeing them. I saw them in my mind. And the questions that I asked was, how is that? How does that work? How does that make sense? By trying to understand how the universe and me and the world was crystal, assuming that me, the world, and the universe is crystal. Because I'm trying to understand how that is. In other words, I'm declaring that it is. I didn't say it out loud or anything like that. This is just what's going on inside of my head. And by doing that and being open, this video pops up in my feed. And you'll notice, this was made after videos I did on the crystals. But their research obviously had to go back. Because what works is that when something is brought into your reality, it affects the past and the future. It will have a past that you were previously unaware of. Every situation, anything that you can think of, is information in that field. All the information is there. It exists when you become aware of it or have a perspective of its awareness. So you have to both be open, understand how it already exists. That's how you see something you previously did not see. Now this can work in different ways. So curiosity, it's either accompanied with fear, accompanied with wonder and awe. When it's accompanied with wonder and awe, have experiences that blow your mind, amaze you. But when it's accompanied with fear, discover the thing that you feared.